What's up, guys? It's Mr. Wicklehouse, and today we are doing word problems that involve systems of equations. Okay, let's get this thing started. So let's talk about the steps to solve these. You want to get these down and so you have a good solid way to start and finish all of this. Alright, so first things first, you want to read the entire problem. You should always read the problem from beginning to end just so you get an idea of what's going on in the problem. Okay. Next, you want to identify the variables and write them down. So if you're using a variable x, make sure that you write down that you're using x and then what that variable means. So that's really important. That way you keep in mind what you're talking about. Next, you want to identify the information that goes with each variable. So for instance, if you're using x and maybe I don't know, maybe like you're selling cookies and you're selling cookies for 25 cents a piece, you want to make sure that you identify that 25 cents goes with the variable that you're using or the information that you're using.
Good morning, Miss Marlar. If you're in the building, can you please report to the main office? Miss Marlar, thank you.
So that was an announcement for Miss Marlar. Anyway, next, after you have all the information and the variables identified, you want to write the equations. So be sure that you have an appropriate number of equations for the number of variables that you have. So remember, we talked about this before. If you have 2 variables, you need to have 2 equations. If you have 3 variables, you need to have 3 equations, so on and so forth. Next, after you have all that stuff written down, you can solve the system using all the ways that you know how to solve them. So elimination, substitution, graphing, whatever you want to do. After you have that, then you want to finally, after you solve the system, you want to answer the question and make sure that your answer makes sense. So like if you're, I don't know, maybe if you're looking at how many gallons you get for your gallons for each mile you get for your car or something like that, you're not going to get an answer like 1,000,000 miles to the gallon or whatever. So make sure that your answer makes sense. That's really important. And if it doesn't make sense, go back and look at what you've done, okay, and figure out what mistake you might have made. All right. Now let's look at some examples. All right. So example number 1. Plane traveled 1,248 miles to Cairo and back. The trip there was with the wind and took 13 hours, while the flight back was against the wind and took 26 hours. How fast was the plane moving in still air? How fast was the air moving? Okay, so I've read the problem. Now let's figure out what our variables are going to be. Okay, so here's a question. It says, how fast was the plane moving in still air? So let's use that for one of our variables. So the speed of the plane without any air moving in it, and we're going to call that P. Okay. Now, how fast was the air moving? Well, speed of the air, we'll use that for our second variable, and we'll call that A. So now I've got 2 variables identified. That's really all I'm concerned about on that. Now we have to think about previously learned information to figure out how are we going to set up this problem. Well, thinking back, I know that I can calculate the distance that something travels by multiplying the rate of speed that it's moving times the time. So that's some information that we're going to use in order to help us set up our variables. Okay. Well, the trip there was with the wind and took 13 hours. Okay. So we've got there, and the information that goes with that is the time is equal to 13 hours. And the distance that was traveled is going to be equal to, well, this is 1248 to Cairo and back, which means that half of that is going to be the distance traveled, so that's 624. So there's the information that goes with some of my variables, and then back the time is equal to 26 hours, and the distance traveled again is 624. Okay. Alright, so now let's use this information. We're going to plug it into this. And you might be sitting here saying, well, Mr. Wickelhaus, what's the rate? Well, here's the rate. Speed is a rate. So going there, I can write my equation. My distance is 624. That's going to be equal to, well, the rate or the speed that the plane is moving on the way there is with the wind, which means that the wind is assisting the plane, so I'm going to be doing P plus A. Okay, because the air is pushing the plane a bit. And then the time for that is 13. Okay, and then on the way back, the distance is 624 again. But this time the wind's pushing against the plane, so it's slowing it down by an amount A. So I'm subtracting now, and the time that it takes is 26. Okay. Now I can distribute some things, and I'm going to be able to simplify some stuff here. So this is 624 equals 13P plus 13A, and then 624 equals 26P minus 26A. Okay. I'm going to eliminate the A because I got a plus and minus here, but I need to multiply this by 2. So that's going to be 1248 equals 26P plus 26A. When I add those down, that goes away. This is 52P. That equals 1872. Divide by 52. And I get P is equal to 36. Now that I have that, I can plug that back in up here on this one. Do 624 equals 13 times 36 plus 13A, not 8. Crazy Mr. Wickelhaus. A. There we go. This is 624 equals 468 plus 13A. Subtract 468, I get 156 equals 13A. Divide by 13, and I get A equal to 12. So I've done my calculations 36 and 12. So the plane speed was 36 miles per hour, and the airspeed was 12 miles per hour. And there we go. There's the solution. All right. So here's example 2. If you want to look at that on your own and try to figure it out, then feel free to do that. So stop there for a second, kind of slow it down, work your way through it. If you want to talk about it in class tomorrow, we can talk about it in class. And now I'm going to work on example 3 with you. Okay. So this is a fun one. It says the sum of two numbers is 22 and the difference is 2. What are the two numbers? Well, I'm going to call number 1 the first number, I'm just going to call that x. And I'm going to call number 2 y. Okay. It says the sum of two numbers is 22. That means that I take these and x plus y equals 22. And then it says the difference is 2. That means that I do x minus y, and that equals 2. Okay. It says what are the two numbers? So I'm going to solve for x and y. I'm going to do elimination again. I'm going to just add straight down. I get 2x equals 24. Divide by 2, I get x equals 12. Now I have x equals 12. Plug that back in. 12 plus y equals 22. So that means y equals 10. So there's our two numbers, x and y, 12 and 10. Easy peasy. That's all there is to it, guys, and I will talk to you later.